Hello and greetings fellow StarCrafters, PGL Milncraft here with a 1 versus 1 between the Red Terran player LiquidTLO, or the Little One as he is also known as, and the Purple Terran ESCGoody, or ESCGoody. Now, I want to talk about the Little One just a little bit. Very exciting player, definitely very interesting. He was extremely popular during the beta, and he is well known because he actually used to be a random player during the beta, so people loved watching that sort of play. And he just comes up with very wacky builds, and typically they're harassment-based builds or some sort of kind of catch your opponent off guard builds. And it's just very interesting to watch that. He's very good at micromanagement, especially when it comes to organizing, like 2 different drops at once, or constant harassment from multiple sides, attacks from multiple sides while controlling his main army, that sort of thing. In contrast to that is Goody. Goody tends to be much more of a kind of meching player. He likes to mech a lot. He likes to kind of build a solid foundation, and maybe is a little more careful, a little less harassment based than maybe is typical. Is also his APM count is actually tends to be lower than other professional players just in general. Goody, in that respect, I would say he's also kind of a lot like Thorazane. Just a very solid, safe player. And I guess a little bit more macro oriented than other Terrans perhaps, and that just kind of tends to be his style. In terms of recent accomplishments, I'm not sure I can necessarily name them. I think he did qualify for the TSL3, and he did it in a grinder, which is very difficult to do. You have to be lots of good players to be able to do that. If people talk about the GSL grinders, those are very difficult to compete in, and thus very difficult to do. So it looks like, oh no, that's not the case. Okay, I thought for a second that TLO had actually gone for reactor first. He did not. He did get a barracks first, but his barracks is a little bit hidden right there. I don't know if that's going to throw his opponent off just a little bit when he gets scouted, but the scout's going to be late anyway, so it's not going to matter. It also might be there to build an add-on for like a starport or something, so that the Banshees have less distance to fly in between them. This map is Antiga Shipyard. I don't think I've quite talked about it. A fairly new addition on the ladder pool. Very large map, as you can see, and a very easy to defend expansion hidden right here in the middle, in the side of the base. As you can just put a command center right there and kind of protect that whole thing, and there's a relatively small ramp rather, in order to let it in. Looks like that SCV is going to try to go up. The Marine is going to scare him away though, and he's going to head back home. Meanwhile, this SCV also gets scared back home. Yep, he can't even see inside of the base. Looks like neither player is going to get any scouting information from their SCVs, as they ended up scouting the wrong direction. Since they were cross bonds, you're probably not going to go in that direction anyway. And actually TLO, or the Little One rather, is floating a barracks. So talking about your strange styles of play, I don't think it's very common to be floating your barracks at this point in time. It's possible later. This will give Goody at least an indication of exactly what build TLO is going. TLO is going to be going for a mechanized build or possibly a skies build, and you can tell is the fact that he doesn't have a barracks. It also means that should he need to build some emergency marines or something, he's actually not going to be able to, so that is something that he is going to be able to suffer from. And you can see that Goody is actually ready with marines to intercept the barracks that is flying into scout right now anyway, just to be extra safe. Looks like looks like both players actually have very mirrored builds right now, although Goody's factory was considerably more delayed than the Little One's. Looks like the Marines are going to probably scare the barracks away unless the barracks decides to fly right over them. So actually, it looks like the Little One will not be using a scan, in fact, to be able to detect the thing, and he will be able to see all of Goody's build very easily. He's going to be able to see the whole thing, as I'm saying, as he is flying directly over the starport, which was built right in the middle. A scan actually would have caught that all as well, but it's pretty hard for a scan not to catch everything in this map because it is in fact such a small base, which kind of annoys me a little bit. It's fairly difficult to organize your base as a Terran. Not as bad as it was. Oh, nice! Having a Halide on the low ground in the barracks spotting fort. He is not going to be able to save that barracks as he does not have an SCV ready to repair it, so that barracks will in fact go down, which means he will be building a replacement barracks somewhere back home. He actually just started another factory, so he doesn't need one quite yet, as 2 factories is enough for a short period of time. He's going to want some more factories, though, in the future. His command center is also finished. He's going to want to upgrade that to an orbital. And actually, wow, he did save the barracks. Did not see that SCV. That was a sly SCV sliding around. So he is able to save the barracks. He will not need to rebuild build a replacement, as he doesn't actually need it to produce from because he is going a mech style, but he does, in fact, need barracks to be able to build any sorts of factories. It is the TAC requirement for the building of a factory. Looks like Goody's actually getting a Raven right now. It's a fairly early Raven. He must be expecting some sort of... I would guess he's expecting some sort of Banshee play. If not, he wants to just make sure he's ahead of any sort of Viking wars that come about, which tend to determine success in any sort of mechanized engagement. If you want any proof of that, you should definitely go watch Game 1 of the finals of the GSL. It's free to watch for everyone. I actually told people in a previous cast, so if you've already watched it, you know, don't jump on me. I'm just, you know, if you haven't seen it, definitely go watch it. It's between it's between Ace, I guess it's StarTale's Ace, and he looks like the Barracks is coming in for again, and MVP. And the transition on that is exactly how a perfect Terran versus Terran transitions go. And it shows you that Vikings and Ravens are what win the kind of late game for Terran players. Looks like this one Hellion is going to go in. It's actually going to see the refinery. Probably going to snipe that SCV. Nope, looks like it's going to take it out. And there's a couple of weird kind of strange things in this build already that I've seen that typically don't see, and that Barracks is not going to get out this time. Barracks is in fact going to go down. He is going to see the expansion though, and the siege tank, so to give the little one just a little bit more information going about, and it is a little bit cheaper than a scan, as a scan costs about 270 minerals, as those are the amount of minerals that get provided. And oh my god, oh my god, that was so close. The SCV got there as it hit 0 hit points. 0 hit points is when the SCV actually arrived to be able to save it. So he tried to save it again, was not quite able to save it, so he's going to have to build replacement. But looks like the little one is actually taking a fast third expansion. I do want to finish my thought in the eccentricities, I suppose, of this build. First of all, is no one's gotten Blue Flame Hellions and it looks like Goody is not in fact going for a fully mechanized style, as he's not getting any he's not getting any Hellions whatsoever, and he only has one factory, and actually is producing Vikings out of a tech lab starport instead of a reactored starport, so he's not going for a too heavy Viking count. So that's a little interesting, as that's a fairly rare to see these days. And the little one, on the other hand, is going a little bit more traditional. He's rebuilding that barracks right there that went down, and he is getting siege tech as well. He is not, in fact, getting Blue Flame Hellions quite yet. Blue Flame Hellions are invaluable against Marines, as they just do so much damage to light units. They can absolutely destroy things, and it's also important to note that neither player went for any sort of harassment. Typically in Terran vs. Terran, you see either Blue Flame Hellion drop or Banshee Rush or something similar, or some sort of timing rush out of that. It's especially popular in Korea, but it looks like these German players, which by the way, Goody is also German. You may or may not know that the little one is German, but Goody is German as well. They're both German. So, you know, they like to sing their German songs, drink beer, that sort of thing. Goody now is going back into full mech play. He is going up to 3 factories, and has a good siege tank spread as well around his base. That should protect him from any sort of attacks. He's also getting an armory that will probably help him with most likely upgrades, but at some point probably a Thor. He is ahead on the Viking count right now, but I don't think he knows that. I believe he's ahead of the Viking count. Oh, he's actually behind on the Viking count, so he may want a Thor to be able to deal with the Viking. He does have a Raven, though, which is going to put him ahead because the point defense drone is able to intercept missiles. We do see Blue Flame coming up for the little one, and he also has a number of Hellions as well. He just opted to get the upgrade just a little bit later, less for harassment style. And getting 2 more factories as well. One of those is probably going to be reactored, and the rest will of course have a tech lab. Now, because the little one is expanding so much more rapidly than his opponent, actually Goody's going to want to try to kind of take a little bit of action here, which is, oh wow, he has very little scouting information. Look at that. He hasn't seen anything on his opponent's base with the exception of that refinery, which shows you, I mean, why he's basically responding incorrectly. He needs to kind of push forward and at least try to do a little bit of damage against the little one. He's not going to be able to do that if, you know, he doesn't even know the little one's taken a 3rd base. He needs to be more active with his SCVs around the map and see if he can spot these expansions going across. He is now sending an SCV, but because the little one has the front, he should be able to intercept that SCV. Also, there are rocks protecting the side of this 3rd base, which should protect, you know, any sort of scouting information. This SCV is actually just going to get blasted by siege tanks right here. Boom, boom. Goodbye, poor little SCV. I would so hate to be an SCV scout. I think that's probably the position that's most likely to die. The little one is also being very aggressive with his barracks, continuing to be rather, as it's sitting down next to the Automaton 2000 right there and just hanging out. These siege tanks are going to move over and start attacking it. It's going to lift off, and then most likely these Vikings are just going to take it out. Looks like there's a scan from the little one going down, however, and I think actually the little one's actually going to send out his Vikings to protect his barracks as it gets lifted off. So they've already sniped 1 Viking, and able to scare the rest of the Vikings away. Goody does still have that Raven, not quite sure where it is. And actually, oh, the little one, big mistake. He's actually running his Vikings over the Marines. The Marines dealing a lot of damage, even though there's only 2 of them. They're dealing a relatively significant amount of damage to the little one's Vikings and are able to take it out. He did not lift up the barracks, so that barracks did in fact get taken down again. Well, not again, I suppose, because it's not the second barracks. And he's building a missile turret, interestingly enough, in the middle. I think that's protecting the siege line that is intended to kind of protect this little middle area, which it is right there, and that missile turret's going to be invaluable, preventing any sort of Banshee harassment against his tanks, and also for scouting any sort of Banshees that may or may not have cloak. We see a medevac lined up for Goody right now, so it's possible he's going to be going for a medevac drop. That medevac will in fact spot the 3rd base, and where did it go? There it is. We can just go ahead and check its scouting pattern. So he is guessing that his opponent has, he was able to spot the 3rd base, in fact. So he knows now that the little one has taken a 3rd faster than him, so he knows he needs to try to take a little bit of action to deal with it. However, very intelligently, the little one has a